Welcome to episode 8 of the Coaches Show as the Foresters down the Grinnell Pioneers 42-22 and improved to 6-0 overall and a perfect 5-0 in Midwest Conference play. I'm Adam Plager alongside the head coach of the Foresters, Jim Catanzaro. Well, Coach Cat, we normally don't talk about pregame practices, but I think this one was a pretty special one for the group to practice at University of Iowa. Just talk about that one.
Yeah, we've traditionally when we've gone out to Grinnell, practice at Kinnick Stadium. Have a couple of connections there, including Seth Wallace, our old offensive coordinator, who's their associate head coach, and just make a couple of those phone calls. And they were extremely accommodating. It's a great place to practice along the way. We always have that Friday practice somewhere, and whether it's at a high school or a college. And I thought for our guys, that was a great place for them to get that practice in, and it was a high quality, fast Friday practice. So we were very happy with it.
Big game offensively for Josh Gaska. 5 passing touchdowns, a career high in passing yards. He looks to continue to get more and more comfortable week after week.
Yeah, I think he's probably kicking himself for the interception at the end of the game, but I think that the video shows that probably wasn't an interception, so we'll leave that one alone. But I thought that there was I thought he had a good day. He was willing to take shots, stretching the field vertically to AJ T-Land a couple of times. And then, I think he really benefited from what I would call a extremely aggressive wide receiving group that attacked the football. Some of the plays that Langston Matoyer made, that T-Land made, they really went after the ball in the air. They took the challenge that was given to them by the coaching staff, and they did. And he got to have a career day because of it, but he has to be the one that pulls the trigger. And I think that there were a couple of passes he'd like to get back. I think he was fingertips away from another touchdown to AJ down the sideline on one of our plays, and so. But again, had a great day. No calms there. I thought he had a great day on Saturday.
AJ continuing to take over, showing why he's AJ Jackson. 3 touchdowns for him, 1 receiving and 2 rushings. Just talk about the way he's able to take over a game.
Yeah, actually had 4, 2 rushing and 2 receiving. So he had 4 touchdowns on the day. AJ is just one of those guys we have said from the beginning of the year we have to find a way to get him the ball. And if he doesn't have 10-plus touches in the game by the end of the game, that's our fault as coaches. And so with a wide receiver, sometimes it's hard. People can take away a wide receiver by leveraging their coverages. So what we've done is we've handed him the ball off. And, I think 4 of his first 5 touches went for, over 5 yards, and 2 of them went for touchdowns. So I don't think it was a bad strategy at all. And I think that he puts a challenge on a defense that when they see him back there at the running back position, or they see him motioning into the backfield, they're not sure if he's going to continue on a pass route, because we've done that with him as well. And so I think that we've been doing a good job of not being predictable as well.
Speaking of the passing game, T-Land really looked dynamic last week against Grinnell. What did you make of his game?
Physicality. I mean, you don't even see on the first play of the game where he pancakes a guy in a block. But then on his touchdown pass, I think he ran over one guy and 2 other guys bounced off of him. So I think that he really had a great day. There's a play that even probably won't get talked about where there was a kind of, I'll call it a jump ball for him and 2 DBs. And he saw that he probably couldn't make the play and knocked it down so that they could make an interception. I thought that was one of the very high football IQ plays. Instead of trying to fight for it where it may get popped up and they can now grab it, he just made the very heady play to make that as a knockdown, and I thought that was a great decision by him. And so he's one of the most dynamic players that we have. An all-conference player a year ago, probably not getting the touches this year that he got a year ago in the passing game. And that's just kind of nature of how some people have defended us. But it's also because, to be honest with you, we've got such a group of wide receivers and tight ends that are weapons right now that we don't have to go to the same well all the time. Whereas I think last year, when AJ was injured and hobbled, Langston got a little banged up early. We weren't really spreading the ball out to the tight ends as much. He was pretty much the focus of our offense for the first 6 or 7 games last year. And I think that there's still going to be times where he's going to be called upon to make big plays like he did on Saturday. But he's found so many different ways to contribute to us that, it shows the competitor that he is and that winning is what the primary goal for all of us is. It's not about our individual stats. We're not leaving guys in late in the fourth quarter chasing stats like some people do. We're really trying to get the guys opportunities to play and keeping them healthy for the games down the road.
Another big second quarter offensive eruption, 28 of your group's 42 points coming in that second quarter. Just talk about that adjustment from the first to the second.
Yeah, don't fumble the football. We fumbled the snap on our second drive, and that allowed them to get a score and us not to. And then, they did a really good job offensively when they got first downs at burning clock. You look at the third quarter, I think there were only 3 total drives. We had, I guess 2 if you count the first 2 plays. we score 30 seconds into the third quarter, and then they go on a like 9.5-minute drive that gets no points, but it still goes 9.5 minutes. And so you're sitting there waiting to get back on the field. And that was just something they did really well. I thought that our second quarters, the last couple of weeks, have been really good. There's usually a defensive play involved in there, them creating a takeaway or a special teams play. And I think that one of the things that we did is we came out, first drive of the game, went down and scored. Came out second drive, fumbled the football. I think then we were kind of just in this weird predicament where we just didn't get points, and we need to make that next series count for points. We got down. I think that might have been when we missed the field goal. So it was a pretty long drive. Got down there. We got to come away with points. We can't not take those points when we're in that situation. So we just got to be a little bit better. But it was a long drive, and we just got all the way down the field and didn't score. We got to secure in the red zone.
Defensively, some big performances. One in particular, graduate student Jalen Johnson, 8 tackles overall, a tackle and a half for a loss, and a sack. He really showed his leadership last weekend.
Yeah, he played productive. I think that Jalen will tell you that he didn't play well, but he played productive. And sometimes we have to deal with that in certain situations. I thought that the game on Saturday kind of predicated a little bit of that. You had big plays from Jackson Sander, who had the big pick in the red zone. Brandon Henderson had a pick that he returned down. Unfortunately, there was a penalty on the return. So a bunch of guys made plays. Preston Mosier probably played one of the biggest plays, first play of the third quarter. Sack fumble on the quarterback. We score on the next play. So I think that, defensively we're getting production from a lot of people, similar to how we were on offense. Like, there's a lot of guys making plays, and it just depends on how big those plays are and impactful they are. And there's sometimes you never see it on the stat. And Michael Kelly sometimes occupying 3 blockers because people are kind of game planning for him. And all right, if he's getting blocked by 3, then everybody else has got one-on-ones. This means we should have somebody coming free, and Jalen has sometimes benefited from that because he's playing next to him.
You touched on it, 3 interceptions overall in the game, as well as some sacks from the group defensively. Brandon Henderson with another one this season, Darion Miller, and as you said, Jackson Sander. How big are those performances throughout the course of the football game?
Yeah, I think we probably should have 2 more, to be honest with you. But those ones were very, at the time of the first 2 in particular, they were very important. And then Darion's to close out the game was a needed moment that we had to have after, we subbed a bunch of guys in, had given up some stuff. Stars came back in, shut the door, and made sure that it was over. So I thought that was a good statement by them. I also thought that, it's good to see multiple people doing that. There's been years where we've had one guy have 8 and only like 3 other guys have a pick, and it's pretty balanced right now. And so just having those guys do that is always helpful, getting the ball back from our opponents.
The fourth quarter, some turbulence there as Grinnell's offense started to come to life. How important is it to play a complete 60-minute game kind of the rest of the way?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we talked to our backups after the game. Like, that wasn't up to the standard. They got a chance to play. We started subbing in the third quarter early, and so you start seeing guys making tackles and stuff like that in the game that are freshmen and haven't played a lot of football, and we wanted to use that opportunity. That's why we bring them to our games. But I would say that I was very, we'll say, disappointed in the performance of our young guys in the fourth quarter, both on offense and on defense. Going 3 and outs, turning the ball over on defense. Giving up big plays, giving up chunk plays and third down conversions at a clip that we don't usually do. They left their starters in as they should, and our guys got a chance to play college football at a more exposed rate. And what I told them after the game is that's all on film now. So now we have film that when we're talking to you about playing time, or we're talking to you about the standards and the levels that we need to get to, it's no longer talking about a scripted situation in practice or something like that. It's like we have actual game footage of you running our stuff. And, some guys had some guys really excelled in that. Some other guys, maybe not so much. So they at least have the film to look at, and we can all talk about it and try to take those next steps.
The group comes away with the victory, that 1-0 mindset. Looking ahead, it's going to be the Ripon College Redhawks. This has been a group that's given you some difficulties over the last couple of seasons. How revved up is the group coming into this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's another chance to go 1-0, and that's what we have to have our focus on. Nothing of the last couple of years matters. That can't be our focus at all. If we go into this game thinking about last year's game or the year before or anything like that, then we are thinking about all the wrong stuff. We need to focus on, we're not that team. There's the players that aren't here. There's players that are here for both sides. We need to play our best level of football this Saturday to go 1-0. We're back at home. That's a place I like for us to play, obviously. Way better than that 5-hour trip to Grinnell. And so for me, I think that if we can stay focused, continue to commit to that Kaizen mentality, and work each one of these days with the right emotional attachment not taking things too far, not taking things too light, making sure we're where we need to be. I think it should be a really good football game. They're a good team. Their record belies who they are. It was the same record they had last year when we played them, so we can't look at that record and say, hey, they're this and this, so that means we should be better. We played this team and beat them. They played this team and lost to them, and the same thing happened last year. And so we know, I think our guys know that. I think they know they've got, at least they learned that lesson, that we don't compare ourselves based on records and things like that. We just focus on what's on the film and who we're playing. And we need to make sure that we're doing that. So 24 hours into watching their film, I mean, they're really good. They're talented. They're coached up really well. Defensively, they're still doing some similar stuff to what they were doing last year, but with some different people. Offensively, they got the same running back. They got the same quarterback. They got the same receivers. They got, 3 of the linemen are the same. So offensively, they are very similar to the team that we played a year ago, and we need to play at a very high level to defeat a team like that.
As you said, your team finally gets to come back home to the Forest. It's been 2 weeks since your group has been at home. It's been since homecoming. What kind of energy does it give your group to come back and play here at Farwell Field?
I think sleeping in your own bed is always better than sleeping somewhere else. And so for our guys, I hope that is a positive. That was one of the things for the young guys because they took the day bus out there. They had a 4.5-hour bus trip before they even got to the field. So I think it was a little bit harder than them than maybe the overnight guys. And maybe that's why in the second half they weren't quite where they needed to be. But we need to just come out at home, have the comforts of home, but not be comfortable. We got to make sure we're defending our home and making sure we're, doing all the things we're supposed to do to be successful.
I'll ask you one last question, not a football question. Talked about the World Series, New York, LA. Who you got winning the World Series?
Come on, man. I'm from New York. It's the Yankees all the way. Let's go get number 28.
All right, that's going to wrap up episode 8 of the Coaches Show. As we're joined by Jim Catanzaro, the Foresters back home in the Forest. They'll meet with the Ripon College Redhawks this Saturday.